first of all get some reactions to what we heard from the Home Secretary. I'd love to hear a reaction to that comment about people should not be linked to trade agreements. What do you think about that, Lord Bilimoria?
Well, it's great to have my friend Preeti over here, and we're very proud that she's Home Secretary, a matter of great pride for India and for the Indian community. And of course, immigration is a big area under her watch. And here's the challenge. With immigration is a big part of the free trade agreement. Now, whether it's in the free trade agreement or alongside the free trade agreement, movement of people is absolutely crucial. I spoke about students just now, that's very important, but it's also movement of business visitors.
Yeah.
Now, over here, the number under the points-based system, the highest number, I think she said, are the Indians, and that's great. It enables Indian workers, professional workers to come in through the points-based system. Students, more and more, great. What about the other way? At the moment, a British business visitor can stay for 90 days, but ASEAN members can stay for 180 days. So let's hope that this free trade agreement enables our business visitors to stay longer, because mobility of people is important. But on a wider basis, I would say this. The points-based system has to deliver the migration that our country needs and our economy needs.
And is it?
And at the moment, we've seen, going back to last summer, a year ago, labour shortages, lorry drivers, butchers, welders, which I brought to as CBI President in Parliament, and the government wouldn't really listen. And here's my advice to the Home Secretary. We have the Low Pay Commission that regularly sets the minimum wage, and the government has to implement it. They can't say we don't like it, they have to do it. Every month, the Monetary Policy Committee sets the interest rate. The Bank of England has to implement that interest rate. Let us have a completely strengthened Migration Advisory Committee of economists, business people, civil servants, bring them all together and have a Migration Advisory Committee that on a regular basis says we need sector by sector, so many thousand visas, 1 year, 2 year visas, Home Office, issue them because the economy needs them. That's what we need right now. I wish the government would listen, because we need access to the global labour at every level, whether it's agricultural workers or super skilled people.
Or doctors or nurses, as we heard from the NHS this morning.
We need that, and that's when the shortage occupation list needs to be activated, and the government should have no option to disagree with it, but give the business and economy the labour that we need.
All right, well, that was a strong statement. Thank you very much. Let's bring the rest of our panel in, because this isn't just about immigration linked to the free trade agreement. It's about the entire free trade agreement. I'd love to get some reactions to what you heard from the Home Secretary about the free trade agreement. But in particular, let's look at this phrase, a comprehensive trade agreement, which you brought up, Lord Bilimoria. Tim, why don't you start us off? What does that look like for you in particular? What do you need to see from this FTA to make it a resounding success for Tata?
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I think the Tata Group covers a whole range of different activities. And it's moving into a whole range of new activities, some of which would be a surprise to some people who see us here.
So tell us what you're in now and where you're going as well.
So, 16 million watches, power stations, steelworks, cars, trucks, buses, TCS, one of the biggest information system companies in the world, etc., etc., etc. But we're moving into electronics. We're building a significant defense and aerospace capability. We've built a fantastic new digital app, Tata New, for India. The list goes on. And so what's exciting about the free trade agreement is that we need it to enable these new businesses that not only us, but our partners, our competitors in India are developing. We need these free trade agreements to enable completely unthought of businesses to develop between our two countries.
How do they do that? How do you build flexibility for the future when you're not quite sure what the future holds?
You try to be as open as you can. You try to take a risk by enabling new things to happen without worrying about tariffing them or quotaing them. And you just, let the things build and develop. I mean, for example, we're building a 4G, 5G stack, which will be fantastic, led by TCS. What a great export opportunity for India that's going to be. We're building it in India. It could be a fantastic competitor to Nokia and Ericsson around the world. So there's a range of businesses that India hasn't been thought of as an exporter of, but could be. And then if I can talk with JCB, the JCB story of taking English IP or British IP and taking it across to India and having a fantastic manufacturing experience in India gives JCB a platform to export to far more countries off the cost base they enjoy in India than they would be if they were merely working off the cost base they have in the UK. So that kind of scale-up relationship of British IP going across to India is also another major opportunity. And, you know, I think we're seeing some of that, you know, Norton Motorcycle, we're seeing some of that, but it would be great to see even more of it.
So let's look at that issue of exporting IP from India. Now, I know that from speaking to Ivan Menezes yesterday from Diageo, that is one of the things that Diageo is most keen to come out of this FTA. Very keen, not only to see tariffs lifted on Scotch whiskey coming from the UK to India, but also what that would do for India's own exports in terms of using some of the products that Diageo sends to export to the rest of the world. So tell me what, for you, for Diageo, Aileen, what does an FTA need to include?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting listening to Tim actually that, you know, the range of products that Tata cover is just massive, and actually our ask is quite a simple one, that, you know, that India has the largest one of the largest import duties in the world at 150%. And we want to see that liberalised through the free trade agreement. Now, that's not only important to jobs in Scotland and the exchequer in the UK, but it's also important for Indian jobs. As you say, you know, Diageo has the world's biggest whiskey brand in McDowell's, and that is it's made in India and it's exported to 20 countries around the world. Now, we'd like to see more of that, and there's huge opportunities for growth. So, you know, what we are saying in this FTA is let's get around the table, let's look at how we can liberalise those tariffs to the benefit of India and to the benefit of the UK. So a win-win.
How optimistic are you, Aileen?
I think, you know, both Prime Ministers have set a really ambitious timetable for before Diwali. We hear that negotiations are progressing well. I am an optimist, and from what I hear, things are going well. So, you know, what we want is, you know, to in the next round of negotiations for Scotch to continue to be prioritised and to have that really in-depth discussion about what tariff reduction would look like. Okay,
interesting. Ben, I know you've got some concerns around what we might not see in this FTA, especially around data privacy. We've got Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar sitting in the front row ready to listen about concerns. Tell us what you want to see, what you need to see in this FTA for Vodafone Group to feel confident in expanding its business within the UK and India.
Thank you. So, especially building first on a couple of the comments already made. So, for us, Vodafone, obviously a mobile telecom operator predominantly, but also increasingly moving into digital solutions. In the end, the digital world we live in crosses borders, hopefully seamlessly, but sometimes not seamlessly. And what we really want is the seamless, borderless transactions in the digital world to be enabled through this FTA. And there's certain things which are going in either direction. So firstly, where there's opportunity for IP transfer. So we are investing heavily in Open RAN, which is slightly different to the Tata 4G, 5G stack, but nonetheless, it's good to have competition in these technologies. It's a way of separating hardware and software in the mobile base stations. And then we see great scope of opportunity for the UK and India to collaborate on Open RAN innovation to create a more
Just tell us a little bit more about what that is.
So it's effectively imagined by, I'll try to make it simple, although it's not a simple topic. If you buy a computer and you completely separate the hardware of the computer from the software, which we have. At the moment, when we build when we have our vendors supplying our equipment for our mobile networks, we get the hardware and software together, and that constrains the number of vendors there are in the market.
Right.
By separating hardware and software, we can have more innovation on the software side and eventually make it more efficient and even more energy efficient. So that's what we're trying to invest in. It's a new technology. We think it's very exciting. The skills in India, the know-how there is a big opportunity. The UK government is behind Open RAN. We just believe this is an area of collaboration, so one which we're very excited about. But on the other hand, talking about the seamless trade on the digital side, data is obviously a big issue for us. And we understand the importance of some of the provisions in the India Data Act on some of the data requirements. But what we really want to see is the ability for especially anonymous or non-personal data to travel across borders and go between UK and India. Because one of the things we set out as a group, we have different innovations in different parts of the world, and we really try to create a competition. So who can innovate best? And what we like to say is we innovate once and then we roll it out at scale. And a lot of that innovation that takes place relies on the exchange of non-personal data. And
just explain what you mean by non-personal data. So you anonymizing data coming from people?
Not even people, from machines,
Okay.
right? So it could be anything. So we're putting a lot of energy into automated factories, right? So having data around how machines are moving around a factory is really important to be able to exploit that data to create efficiency. The world we live in today, everything is about making more out of less. We're increasingly understanding that we have scarce resources. We need to make the most out of our scarce resources. So efficiency, it needs to be everywhere.
But
And
if we've
it's-
got such great engineers in India, why can't you just keep that data in India and then have the engineers look at it there?
Because every time you create a board around data, whether it's India, whether it's UK, whether it's EU, the US, wherever it might be, you're just limiting the potential scope of innovation.
Okay.
Right? The more data is shared, the more non-personal data is shared, or anonymized data is shared, the greater innovation potential that we have. Every time you try to constrain something, it comes with a price. Now, we understand that there are concerns around certain types of data for security reasons, whatever it might be. Of course, you need to put that into the mix and balance out the need for security, the need for personal data protection, with the need for innovation, with the need for economic growth. And then you find a reasonable balance. And we hope the FTA can find that reasonable balance, that we can have the trade or the exchange of data which drives innovation and economic growth, but not at the expense of privacy and security.
Okay, so we've heard from some big global companies. Ashok, you work with small, medium-sized enterprises. What do you want to see in this free trade agreement to help them?
Well, I've heard all the big boys, and frankly, I think they've said it all. As far as we're concerned, we're a company, we are a market entry company. We bring in small and medium-sized institutions and hold their hands in the country. We help them explore, enter, explore, and expand. And we've started in 2008, and we've now got over 200 clients whom we are sort of actually helping grow in India across educational institutions, across small not-for-profits, as well as small and medium-sized things. So we're concerned that we are really looking forward to this FTA, because once this FTA is there, a lot of other small and medium enterprises will look at India, may it be for trading, or they may be setting up entities. And for us, it will be a tremendous business opportunity and help both, growth on both the sides.
What verticals what kinds of companies do you help at the moment? What do you expect to see more of?
Well, at the moment, I'd say 70% of our clients are normally educational institutions, but we have fairly sizable companies, medium-sized companies out of England, out of the US, and in other parts of the world who enter. And we think that the SME and the MMEs in the UK have a tremendous potential to do business in India, provided their hands are held and we can, actually monitor them. In fact, last week I've been going around all of northern England and parts of southern England, and there are a lot of companies that are, would be delighted to come if they knew. I mean, if the tariffs were reasonable and if they knew how they could come in and the process was made easier. So for us, the FTA is something that we're really looking forward to.
Okay,
Can I come in?
sure, of course.
We see that with Scotch as well. There's a number, of course, Diageo was one of the big players in Scotch, but we see a number of small Scotch producers who would love to be able to trade with India, but actually the 150% import tariff is something that just puts them off. And so I think there's a huge opportunity there for smaller producers to get
Two of them
involved.
are already talking to us. So I think the FTA is going to really, if it comes through the way we hope to, and from what I hear, I think the Indian government will reduce the duty, Aileen. How much we have to see. And
Interesting.
So yes, it's
Okay.
exciting times.
Lord Bilimoria, you've been scribbling away there. There's a number of things to reflect on that we've heard, concerns around data, around privacy. What's on your mind from the discussion?
Well, I mean, what I would, and I meant to make this in my opening remarks as well, an area that's really crucial and that's come to the fore just now is, of course, the sad war in Ukraine, is defense.
Yeah.
And I said in the 70th anniversary of NATO, I spoke in a debate in the House of Lords in 2019, and I said then that we need to increase our defense spending from 2% of GDP to 3%. And I think I was foresighted and prescient over there. We need to do that. And of course, the NATO meeting is taking place, is just taking place as we're speaking. Now, defense is an area of huge collaboration between the UK and India. Minister Piyush Goyal, who came here, said, we would welcome British collaboration with defense, and we're not even asking for technology transfer. Isn't that brilliant? That's marvelous. That's collaboration, know-how here, manufacture in India, make in India. It all fits together absolutely perfectly. And look how impressive the Indian ministers are now. That's India going places, the confidence. Ministers like Piyush Goyal, the Commerce Secretary, who really gets business, understands business, a chartered accountant. When you see Minister Jaishankar, the foreign minister, on stage, my gosh, is he impressive. So here's the point I want to make as well. Defense. I've just become a trustee of Policy Exchange, the leading think tank in the UK, I would say, and we came out with a paper last year on the tilt to the Indo-Pacific. And we came out with an integrated review. Britain, for the first time as a country, we produced a review of our defense, security, development, foreign policy, all in one. And in that, we speak about a tilt to the Indo-Pacific, not the Asia-Pacific. And that is so important that with that, you've got Australia, free trade deal. Australia has a security agreement with the UK with AUKUS, the submarine deal, with the USA, the UK, and Australia. Australia is part of the UK and Five Eyes, the security agreement. India has joined Quad. And the Quad is Japan, Australia, India, and the United States.
Should the UK join?
So
Should we make it a quint?
I was the first person, I claim this, to suggest that India, UK should join Quad and should become Quad Plus, and then you circle the whole world.
Or a quint.
The Indo-Pacific, and you circle the world. So that's one.
Right.
And I make another recommendation. India has 2+2 agreements with many countries where on a regular basis, the foreign minister and defense minister of India meet with the foreign minister and defense minister of the other country. There is no such agreement with the UK. And I say, let's go one step further. Let's make it 3+3. Let's have the foreign, defense, and the trade minister at the table and have a 3+3 between the UK and India.
Interesting. All right. Well, Tim, you've got a lot to say about on the defense front as well. But there's something that we haven't discussed yet, which is the issue around China constricting supply chains. I wonder how that influences India's ability to manufacture more goods, some of the things that you're talking about and you're interested in continuing to build.
Yeah, well, we as the Tatas have been around for over 150 years, and we trade and manufacture in many countries, including China. So we're very proud and happy to have a joint venture through JLR with Chery Automobile in China. But in terms of the global geopolitics of the last few years, I think it is true that some of the businesses we are now building, whether it's in highly softwareized, by the way, stack for telecoms, or whether it's in defense and aerospace, whether it's in electronics manufacturing, I think, yes, they have been, in a sense, aided by the pull away, because we're going from just in time to just in case, and you know, all that stuff about supply chain resilience being very, very important means that there are global purchasers looking through their supply chains and saying, wouldn't it be great to have some resilience? Let's look at India with its massive scale and capabilities. And they've come to us and others to make that happen. And we're delighted to be part of making it happen.
Interesting. I wonder, Ben, what you're worried about. What keeps you awake at night thinking free trade agreement doesn't go through? What does that mean for Vodafone? I remember interviewing the CEO of Vodafone last year for IGF. There's so much legal wrangling that happens in India around telecoms. He, in fact, said that he thought he ran a legal company sometimes rather than a telecoms company. What could the free trade agreement do that might alleviate some of that concern?
Well, thank you. Well, you asked me what keeps me awake at night. I thought you were going to ask me, stop there and ask me what keeps me awake. I'm more worried about the cricket, to be honest, but I'm sure that will appeal to many people in the room. No, so on a free trade agreement, the story of Vodafone in India is a long and complicated story, and I don't think we need to go through it all today, but it started actually, I think, with an Indian CEO of Vodafone, who actually was before my time just at Vodafone. But number one, what we could get out of an FTA is also bring in investor protection. That's something as a company we've invested in many different parts of the world, and having investment built into, whether it's bilateral investment treaties or whatever it might be, having some investor protection is really important for us. And that's one thing we'd really like to see built into this FTA.
Investment protection. Yeah.
So not just about how we trade more going forward, but actually the investment that has been already made
around IP.
Not just about just protect the share the billions of dollars we put into India. How to make sure that there is protection for that investment through this agreement, so you can not have discrimination against us, and that rules can't be put in place that discriminate between a non-Indian versus an Indian company. The standard terms go into an investment protection treaty, and building into that as well, some sort of also protection against the cases we've had in the past. You know that, as you said, it's almost like a legal entity that we have running the show there because of the number of cases. So having some sort of protection through and limitations of the past would be very helpful in terms of the FTA.
Do you want to come back on that, Lord Bilimoria, on protection of investments? It's incredibly important for business to have that, isn't it, in order to build that trust between the UK businesses and Indian businesses.
Yes, and with the FTA, we all want it to happen as quickly as possible, but let's be realistic about this. We've shown in the UK we can do a comprehensive, and you do not get more comprehensive than the Australia Free Trade Deal. It is the most modern UK-Australia deal, the most modern comprehensive free trade deal you can imagine on this planet. Now, I want the Indian deal to be as close to that as well, as comprehensive as possible. India's done 2 deals very quickly, within less than 3 months with the UAE and with Australia, but they're relatively much lighter than our FTA with India is going to be. So I want it to be comprehensive.
What do you think? Is it going to be comprehensive, or are you worried it's going to be quite narrow?
I'm very keen that, yes, there's this Diwali deadline. As far as I'm concerned, if it goes to the end of the year and it's more comprehensive, but rather it goes to the end of the year than finishes at Diwali, if it's going to be more comprehensive, if it includes things like IP, if it includes services, if it addresses the tariff issues we're talking about, whether it's cars or whether it's Scotch whisky, it's services absolutely key. And to me, the comprehensiveness is there and the will is there between our 2 countries, the 5th and 6th largest economies in the world. We can do it.
Interesting. Ashok, I want to give you a word in as well. Small and medium-sized enterprises are, let's face it, the majority of where most people are employed. So they are incredibly important, and they lift up so many more people from both countries when we do that. And a rising tide lifts all boats. How important do you think this idea of protection of investments is? And can you give me an idea of the kind of impact that you could see in both economies, in the UK and India, if we were to see more small and medium-sized enterprises encouraged?
Small and medium-sized, as you rightly said, form the bulk of any of industrial capacity of a country. And even if you see the figures now, about 75 to 80% of UK exports are from medium-sized and small companies. So I think that the answer lies in that. And as if the FTA comes up and the tariffs are reduced to reasonable levels, or even if there are no tariffs, it's going to be a big help. In fact, already if you see there are about 600 British companies invested in India, providing about 320,000 jobs. And in India, the Indian investment in India, I think, has about created 90,000 jobs in the UK. And last year itself, 30,000 jobs were created in North England. So, I mean, the answer lies there, and they're all medium and small-sized companies.
Right.
So, the faster the FTA is done, as Lord Bilimoria is saying, I think it'll be extremely good for both the countries.
Fantastic. Well, we've run out of time, but ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a huge round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you.